Where did you get this custom-made pendant? I've had it since I was a kid. It was given to me by my grandfather.
Where did you get this? Eleanor's voice cracked, the pendant trembling in her hand. It's mine. I didn't even know it was missing. Her manicured fingers quivered, the silver chain slipping through them like a ghost from another lifetime. The black waitress standing before her, Laya, froze, unsure why the billionaire matriarch was staring at her like she'd just seen a ghost. The dining room fell silent. No more laughter, no more clinking glasses, just the soft sway of that necklace under the chandelier, shimmering like it knew exactly what it had done. That pendant wasn't random jewelry. It was custom made. There was only one in existence. And Eleanor Belmont, queen of old money and gossip column grace, suddenly looked like she'd seen her past crawl out of the grave. It was supposed to be another perfect afternoon at the Belmont estate, where the air smelled like lavender, money, and control. Eleanor ruled her mansion like a queen on a marble throne. Her life? Perfect. Predictable. Sanitized. She had built an empire of good press, charity galas, hospital donations, photo ops with governors, but that necklace cracked her porcelain world. Laya wasn't anyone special, at least not in that room. Just a young black waitress from a local soul food restaurant, polite and poised, serving champagne to people who barely noticed her existence, until she walked past the chandelier. That glint of silver caught Eleanor's eye, and that was it. One look, and 60 years of secrets started bleeding back. Her hand tightened around her cane. Her mind whispered, "It can't be." Can you believe this old woman was about to have her entire world flipped by a waitress's necklace? Well, buckle up, because what happened next made even the richest people in that room go speechless. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe to Silent Divide Tales, because tomorrow's story is one you definitely don't want to miss. The lunch crowd laughed and toasted, but Eleanor Belmont couldn't hear a thing. Her eyes stayed locked on that necklace like it was whispering her sins out loud. Her grip on her champagne flute trembled. She'd seen that pendant before. Same silver heart, same faint engraving at the back. Forever in kindness, E. The kind of message you carve when you're young, stupid, and in love. But Eleanor hadn't been that girl in decades. She'd buried her softness under pearls, power, and press photos. So why on earth was it hanging around the neck of a waitress? She tried to brush it off, pretend it was a coincidence. But come on, custom-made jewelry doesn't just reappear out of nowhere. That's when she quietly motioned to her butler. Bring her here. Laya approached, cautious, polite smile on her face. She had no clue she was walking straight into a storm, decades in the making. Eleanor leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. Where did you get that necklace? Laya blinked. It belonged to my grandmother. She gave it to my mother before she passed. The air left Eleanor's lungs. Her pulse roared in her ears. No, that couldn't be true. That necklace had belonged to him, a name she hadn't dared say out loud since the 60s. Samuel, the stable hand, the man her parents said didn't belong, the man she'd loved anyway until her family destroyed his life to protect their reputation. She'd given him that necklace before he was sent away, swore she'd find him again, but she never did. Now, standing in front of her was a young woman wearing his pendant, his message, his legacy. Could this waitress, this calm, brown-eyed girl, really be connected to Samuel? Or was fate just mocking her one last time? She wanted to ask, but the room was still full of people. The governor's wife was laughing 3 tables away. The photographers were snapping shots. One wrong move, and the headlines would be merciless. So Eleanor smiled through her panic, but her hands, they shook. Her secrets were waking up, and they were hungry. When the luncheon finally ended, the mansion exhaled into silence. The guests drifted out in perfume clouds and laughter, completely unaware that their hostess was one shaky breath away from collapsing. Eleanor stayed seated, her diamond bracelet clicking softly against the glass. Across the room, Laya was clearing plates with the quiet efficiency of someone used to being invisible. But not to Eleanor. Not anymore. She couldn't take her eyes off the girl. Her hair, her calm movements, even the tilt of her head, it all echoed someone Eleanor once knew far too well. Could blood really carry memory like that? She motioned for the staff to leave, then looked directly at Laya. Stay a moment, dear. Laya froze mid-step. Yes, ma'am? Eleanor's voice shook. May I see your necklace? Laia hesitated. Who says no to a billionaire, right? Then unclasped it and placed it in Eleanor's trembling palm. The chain was warm from her skin. The silver heart, faintly scratched but still intact, glinted under the chandelier light. Eleanor turned it over, and there it was. That tiny engraving she'd memorized like a prayer. Forever in kindness, E. Her breath caught. This was mine, she whispered. I gave this to someone I loved. Laia's brow furrowed. My grandmother said it came from my grandfather. His name was Samuel Carter. Boom. The room tilted. That name hit Eleanor like a thunderclap. Samuel Carter, the stable hand, the man she'd defied her family for, the man they'd fired, humiliated, and forced out of town to erase the scandal of a white girl in love with a black man. She hadn't heard his name spoken aloud since the day he disappeared. Now here it was again, from the mouth of his granddaughter. Her heart shattered. Her past was standing right in front of her, wearing an apron and offering forgiveness she didn't deserve. Can you imagine realizing the love your family destroyed came back through his bloodline, right to your table? Because that's exactly what just happened, and what Eleanor did next, no one saw coming. Eleanor could barely speak. Her fingers clutched the pendant like it was the last piece of her soul. The words tumbled out in a whisper. Samuel, I gave this to him before they took him away. Laia's eyes widened. Samuel Carter? Eleanor nodded, tears pooling in the wrinkles time had carved into her face. My grandfather, Laia breathed. And just like that, 60 years of silence shattered. Eleanor's knees almost gave out. She reached for Laia's hand, her voice cracking. He was the kindest man I ever knew. I should have fought for him. Laia hesitated, then stepped closer. He never hated you, she said softly. He used to tell my mom there was a woman who loved him once, and that he hoped she forgave herself someday. Eleanor's lips trembled. Forgave herself? After everything she'd done, everything she'd let happen? The irony burned and healed all at once. She pulled Laia into her arms and sobbed, not the quiet, polite kind of crying she was used to. This was ugly, shaking, full-body grief, the kind that finally empties you. For a moment, it didn't matter who had money, who had power, or who had scars. It was just 2 generations finally closing a wound that had been bleeding for decades. When Eleanor finally spoke again, her voice was softer than the wind. You don't work for me anymore, dear. You work with me. Laia blinked, stunned. Eleanor smiled through her tears. If your grandfather's kindness is still alive through you, then I want to share it. Let's build something together. And she did. Weeks later, the 2 women launched a scholarship in Samuel's name for kids who'd been told they didn't belong. The story spread like wildfire. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't erase the past, it just gives it a softer ending. So next time you see someone wearing something familiar, maybe ask the story behind it. You never know what truth might be waiting. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're never too late to make things right. This has been Silent Divide Tales, where secrets meet redemption. Subscribe for tomorrow's story. It's one you won't believe.